Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up for you today. While the prices in the market appear to be selling off, I can tell you this much. There's a great video out from the one and only Hall of Famer, John Deaton, and he's going to go over what we need to know, a reality check on settlement for the SEC versus Ripple. Is it in play? Could be. Let's go ahead and roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at @BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. And we got $2.098 trillion for the cryptocurrency market cap. We're off by 10%, ladies and gentlemen. Is it any wonder that the prices are down? Yeah, that's what's going on. We see the market cap drop. We know people are selling off. We're still 2.1 trillion basically on the space, but let's look at it now. We were above 50,000, I think even 51,000 this morning, if my memory serves me right. Now at $47,000. That's how volatile Bitcoin can be and how quick it can move. And Ethereum sitting at 3,400 right now. It was at 3,900. Cardano now at 248, off by 13.13% just in the 24-hour here. And XRP now sitting at $1.14, and we're off by 17.54% on the 24-hour. Wow, almost 18% off in the 24-hour. We look at price, we're at 113.65. We're currently falling like a manhole cover from the sky. Looks like we're going to go back and retest maybe that 109 mark. It looks like we crashed all the way back to $1 before the buyers found some support back up here at 113, just above that 109 back test support. We'll see if we continue to hold it or not. And knowing that we were all the way up to 141 early hours of this morning, let's go ahead and get into the news. We got a lot to look at, and I'm about to show you clips from John Deaton video where he gives all of us a reality check that we need about what's the most important things to pay attention to as we move closer and closer towards the end of this case and eventually a resolution of some sort. Now, this was a pretty nice little post here, a tweet from James Rule XRP, shout out to you, my friend, showing that Tether, not exactly $1 here. What's going on at 95 cents? You know, Tether's been in question for a long time, and it remains in question, at least here at my house. We'll have to see what goes on from there. But we start right here. Shout out to Digital Asset Investor, who has really led the effort to inspire all of us to really find the clips from back in the day around 2018, before and after that speech from William Hinman that gave a free pass to Ethereum, to really take a look at all the people that were involved, whether it was the SEC side or the investor side. And I'm about to play a clip for you here that shows Joseph Lubin claiming Ethereum wasn't a security because it was not offered to investors, only software developers explicitly, he says. Well, how and why did Mike Novogratz get it done? And for those of you who don't know, Joseph Lubin was roommates with Mike Novogratz back in the Princeton days, and Mike Novogratz was collaborating with, and while Joseph Lubin was working with the SEC for the Ethereum free pass. Don't believe it, it's still true. Take a listen.
And I find, consensus. Joe Lubin was one of my college roommates. He's a wonderful source for me. Right? We collaborate. And so I'm talking to enough people in the ecosystem that are talking to the regulators almost every day. And so I'm talking to enough people in the ecosystem that are talking to the regulators almost every day.
We're of the opinion that today there's no chance that Ethereum can be deemed a security.
Oh, so with respect to Ether, now we did our legal homework a long time ago. We delayed our token launch for about 7 months. Ether was never considered a cryptocurrency. We always considered it a fuel, one of the first crypto commodities, something like that. And essentially because people are donating their resources, it started out quite decentralized. It was in a context in which there were nobody had heard the term ICO. It wasn't an ICO. We called it a token launch. It was sold very explicitly to software developers, to people who intended to use the system. It was not sold for speculative purposes.
Well, then why did Mike Novogratz buy $500,000 worth of it at 99 cents? Because he says here, I was at least intelligent enough to say, I'm not leaving until I buy some of the ethers, he said. At the time, ether was tricky to buy since few exchanges, particularly in the U.S., supported it. It was trading around 95 cents at the time. Novogratz said, I called him, Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin, up. I had met him once at a dinner. He remembered me, but didn't know me. He thought it was good for the community to have a Wall Street guy buying. So I bought $500,000 ether at 99 cents, maybe 98 cents. He changed the price on me at the last minute from 98 to 99 cents because I had waited too long and the price went up. He added, and then I really became much more crypto maniac. Well, if that's the case, well, then this guy isn't exactly telling the truth, now is he?
Software developers to people who intended to use the system. Was not sold for speculative purposes.
Well, we all know that Mike Novogratz is an investor, ex-Goldman Sachs guy. This guy's not a software developer, and he does not intend to use the system. He's invested in it. There's a problem here, and everybody's got some explaining to do. And to go along with some explaining to do, we got the one and only John Deaton here, who's about to break down a reality check here on what is actually going on with this lawsuit. Let me cue this up right here and give him the floor, because he lays this down as good as anybody could do and is going to give us the most important things to focus on as we move through the next points to come in this case. Listen here. This first one is about settlement and BitBoy's prediction that we could see a settlement by the end of this month. Take a listen.
In every issue. And so the purpose of this video is to hopefully dispel some of that confusion. And you cannot let what's happening in the courtroom confuse you as it relates to settlement. So is it possible that BitBoy's prediction or anyone else's prediction that a settlement is imminent, can that be accurate? And the answer is sure, it could.
But he also goes on to say that it probably isn't. He does say that he believes that, there's probably some more room to go. Much like when we've talked and heard from Jeremy Hogan, I know I've felt this way too. The real motion I'm waiting on to have heard is the fair notice defense for Ripple. If the judge approves that motion for Ripple to use the fair notice defense, I think there's going to be the greatest blow to the SEC's case that they in fact can move forward with it. And up until now, there's no reason to think that the judge wouldn't allow Ripple to use the fair notice defense, because there's been many signals from the judge asking for information or asking the right questions that really seem to support the notion that she will let them do so. But yet we haven't had a ruling on it. Now, let's move to the idea that we know we got an in-camera review and they may possibly have a settlement at the end of the month. It's certainly possible, as he said. But let's listen right here. Let me move this right now to this part, because there's quite a bit to check out here. He says so much incredible information, and you need every bit of it, because he really brings you up to speed here in a very, very straightforward way. Check it out. This is about settlement talks and what to think about.
In the boardroom. So listen, is this case in the middle of a settlement talks? Is this case going to settle in a matter of a few weeks, or is it going to go the full distance through the courts? Well, Gary Gensler made a prediction when he was at MIT. And let's look at what that prediction was.
The token XRP and whether I think it's a non-compliant security. I've spoken publicly. Yes, I do think it's a non-compliant security.
Now, you remember, this is in 2018 he was saying these things. Keep listening to what he says.
But this will not be resolved just by the Securities and Exchange Commission. It will be resolved by some courts, whether it's appellate courts or the Supreme Court. So what I believe is just that. It's a belief.
Now, as you could see from that clip from Gary Gensler, he said that although he thought XRP was a security in 2018, the courts would decide, right? And whether that is the appellate court or the United States Supreme Court, someone other than Gary Gensler was going to decide. Now, the difference is Gary Gensler was not in charge, okay, of the SEC at that point in time when he made that statement. But I think that we have to be prepared that it's possible that the SEC is taking that approach. Now, what's going to cause a settlement? What's going to cause a settlement is when you make the SEC scared that a loss could have permanent damaging effects on the SEC's ability to move forward. The precedent that a loss would have, for example, by the fair notice defense, it's huge, got huge implications. But right now, although Ripple has been successful at some motions and some documents and all of those things, the SEC filed a motion to strike the fair notice defense. Okay, now, if the SEC wins that motion, that means the fair notice defense is out of the window, right? Dead on arrival. And Ripple would lose huge amount of leverage. Now, if the SEC loses that motion to strike, which I predict they will and that they should, that doesn't mean that Ripple wins. That only means that Ripple can move forward and argue the fair notice defense to the judge at a summary judgment or to the jury at a trial. Okay, so once the SEC loses that motion, now they're going to be a lot more scared than they are today.
So this is all about vulnerability in the case. The more you can expose their vulnerability and risk to losing the case and losing leverage, well, then that's when you really run the best chance to find a settlement. Listen to this quick clip about fair notice defense continued right here.
Ripple wins this case based on fair notice. That puts us out of business related to all the other cryptos or every other crypto except for a new ICO.
He's speaking at that point about the SEC understanding that if they lose the motion to fair notice defense, then it really makes an uphill climb for them to challenge any other cryptos out here that obviously would take the fair notice defense as well.
Okay. And with that kind of fear, with that kind of realization, then maybe, just maybe, Gary Gensler will revisit his position where he said the courts will decide. But I think it's going to take some ruling to cause the SEC to become more scared, if you will, and fearful that they're going to lose. I mean, listen, look at what Gary Gensler's mindset is. Okay, in a recent video, look what he said.
Now, over the years, the SEC has brought dozens of cases, many of them during my predecessor's time. I've only been here 3 months. And yet, having brought dozens of cases, we haven't lost a case.
He literally said that the SEC, as of yet, has never lost a case.
And that really shows you the amount of arrogance on the SEC's part and obviously the vulnerability that they don't want to start losing cases, and especially not with a landmark case like the SEC versus Ripple. Now let's take another look here, because this is really an important point that he really goes on here. And you need to hear, we all need to hear this, because what does a settlement mean and what does it look like? And we've all talked about the different scenarios of a settlement and what it could mean, but we don't want it to stop short of getting the clarity we need for XRP to get back on the secondary market and the exchanges and to go back open to selling, buy, sell, and trade and hold. So let's go ahead and listen here. Really great spot here.
And finally, we got to talk about just for a second what a settlement means, okay? Because I have to tell you that a settlement where the SEC simply says, Ripple, you pay a fine of 25 million or 50 million, whatever it is, for sales of XRP between 2013 and 2017 because it was an unregistered security, and we will settle this case. If that's all that is said and done, and there's no additional clarity, there's no declaration by the SEC that XRP today is not a security, that's not a settlement that provides clarity. That's a slap on the wrist. Okay, does that mean Coinbase and Kraken and other exchanges are going to immediately relist XRP? Are they going to relist XRP absent some type of determination or clarification that they can sell XRP moving forward and not have any issue with the SEC?
And we've talked about this, and we've also entertained the notion that they could come back and say, you know, this asset can no longer be sold in the manner that it was, and it needs to be sold to an accredited investor or institutional level buyer from now on. And that would mean that all the XRP that are currently open and out here are all that will be offered out here to us. And that is a scenario we can't take off the table either. So keep listening.
They're going to need that. Whether that means the SEC makes a declaratory statement that with this settlement, XRP moving forward is going to be considered a non-security based on the decentralization. It would require something similar to what Bill Hinman did for Ether, okay? Or it would be, we settle with Ripple, here's your slap on the wrist, and we're going to issue a no action letter that we publish that we are not going to go after the exchanges for selling XRP. Okay.
That would be phenomenal.
Okay. Moving forward. If there's something like that with the settlement, then great. There's clarity and we move forward. But if it's simply, we're going to go back as though we never filed the lawsuit and you pay, you know, 50 million for these previous sales in the earlier years, and we're not going to say anything else, I don't know if that is going to be enough incentive for Ripple to settle. So
there we have to talk about that. And that's where we get into, you know, is that going to be enough for Ripple to settle, or will Ripple take a settlement knowing that they would change the ability to get it to an accredited investor, institutional level buyer for the asset XRP, and then whatever's on the exchanges ends up getting bought up through the process of not having any more available to us. And that is a pretty interesting scenario right there. All right, so with that in mind, I do want to leave with this final thought on this, and shout out to John Deaton, because I mean, this is remarkable insight here that he is sharing, and his page Crypto Law as well. So, you know, however this goes, and whichever way this settles, with whatever set of details it finally has, one thing I am absolutely certain of is that XRP, when this case is over, will be the most vetted, most compliant digital asset on the face of the earth. And that is going to bring an enormous amount of confidence from the biggest money institutions around the world. Not financial advice from me or anyone else, but that's where we have it on this day. Hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know. And don't forget to check out the links in the description and the comment box. Ladies and gentlemen, link to, make sure you pay attention to what comes back on the board here. I'm telling you, there's going to be stuff fly up on this board. And when you see it go up here, it won't last long and it'll be empty again. So make sure you hit the button, get accredited. And if you're not accredited, find out what you need to do to be accredited. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.